As Luke Skywalker was brought before Emperor Palpatine in Return of the Jedi, the Dark Lord of the Sith was determined to turn the Jedi to the dark side to gain a new apprentice, just as he had done to Luke's father. But as the Episode 6 novelization shows, there was another important question on Palpatine's mind that he wanted Luke to answer first, a curiosity that was too great for the Sith Lord. He wanted to know who trained Luke over the previous few years. Of course, he knew Obi-Wan's role in Luke's training, but Palpatine knew there had to be someone else. Eventually, Palpatine would discover from Luke's thoughts that it was the Jedi Grandmaster Yoda who continued his training, and although Luke attempted to reveal nothing, Palpatine also discovered Yoda was by that time dead. This scene from the Return of the Jedi novelization forms the basis for our question here. Clearly, the novel shows that after Yoda trained Luke, Sidious and Vader knew that Yoda survived, with both Sith Lords having knowledge that Yoda lived through the Imperial era before their demise. But what about before this discovery by Palpatine and Vader on the second Death Star? Was this the first time they even thought about Yoda existing somewhere in the galaxy after Order 66? The novel Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader, which took place only weeks after the rise of the Empire, demonstrates that there was no question they knew Yoda survived after he fled from Coruscant in Episode 3. As Palpatine told his apprentice then, Yoda was not an exception to the rule and was among those Jedi who survived Order 66, now hidden somewhere within the galaxy. And for Palpatine, this was a good thing, or at least something that should be accepted, as it forced Yoda to humble himself before the Sith, to atone for his arrogance and egotistical self-absorption. But there's a 25-year gap between the Dark Lord novel and the Episode 6 novelization. We want to know if Palpatine or Vader gave any thought to Yoda's survival during this period, or had specific knowledge that Yoda was still alive during the later years of Palpatine's rule. Fortunately, we do have a legend source that can help us answer these questions. Legends is filled with stories depicting Palpatine as someone who wasn't worried about the existence of the Jedi after Order 66, which is in stark contrast to his apprentice Vader, who was all but consumed by his desire for any vengeance he could obtain against these Jedi. Therefore, it's not surprising that in the novel Death Star, it's Vader who gives thought to Yoda's survival during the era of the Empire. The important event of Death Star takes place well into the Imperial era, only about 3 years before Episode 4, so it does give us a great indication of whether Palpatine and Vader knew Yoda was alive before the scene in the Episode 6 novel, and before the Jedi Master trained Luke. From the novel Death Star, it's clear that Vader did know that Yoda was still alive only a few years before the Battle of Yavin. As Vader was on board his Star Destroyer to oversee construction on the first Death Star, he meditated on what his former Master Obi-Wan had done to him so many years earlier. In doing so, Vader also thought about those Jedi that survived Order 66. In thinking about these Jedi survivors, Vader knew that among them were a few Jedi who mattered most. Not just Obi-Wan, but also Yoda, the Order's Grandmaster. And while Vader knew Yoda had escaped the initial onslaught of Order 66, he also knew Yoda was still alive at that point as well, having survived and avoided Imperial detection for years. For Vader, this reality was disturbing, for as much as his master believed the Jedi were of little consequence, Vader believed the opposite. He saw Yoda's continued existence as a threat, still dangerous despite his age. And yet, even Vader couldn't motivate himself to seek Yoda out, being far more interested in locating his former master Obi-Wan. Despite the fact that Palpatine seems to have almost forgotten who Yoda was entirely through the Episode 6 novel, I think it's fair to assume that because Vader knew Yoda still existed this long into the era of the Empire, Palpatine did as well. There wasn't much Vader knew that Palpatine didn't also know about. But Palpatine's dismissive attitude is perfectly in line with the Dark Lord's view towards any of the Jedi survivors of Order 66, even an extremely powerful one in Yoda. Although the Sith knew Yoda was alive during the later years of the Empire, their lack of motivation to search for him, combined with Yoda's choice of Dagobah being perfect for his exile, given that the dark side energies of the Outer Rim planet could easily mask his existence there, meant that he could continue to remain a non-issue for them for years. I believe Palpatine would later come to see the error in this thinking during Episode 6, which we can discuss in a future video. But the Legends lore is clear. Vader and Palpatine knew Yoda was still alive only weeks after Order 66, 25 years later when his survival was confirmed by Luke on the second Death Star, and also at least 16 years after the rise of the Empire. And based upon the information from Death Star, I believe we can say that Palpatine and Vader knew Yoda was alive during the original trilogy era, hidden somewhere within the galaxy, but it became a trivial matter for both of them. So there we have it, whether the Sith knew Yoda was still alive before he trained Luke. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. Or perhaps follow us on Twitter at SW Reading Club for updates regarding the channel. Or support the channel through Patreon for access to exclusive rewards and discussions. If not for me... For you probably should have followed up on things.